Real Estate Investing Profits presents Profit Masters with your host, world-renowned real estate coach and investor, Cory Boatwright. Now, strap in and get ready to learn elite wealth-building investment strategies taught by 6- and 7-figure house flipping masters as they reveal their best real estate investing profit secrets to you right now.
What is going on? My name is Cory Boatwright. I am the founder of Real Estate Investing Profits and your host of Profit Masters podcast series. You know who we have today? It's going to blow your mind. This guy I've known for several years, and he right now is running a company in the VP of Business Development that has over 170 employees. You might have heard of it. A little company in San Francisco called Lending Home Corporation. Yeah, that one. And Josh Stech is our guest. And Josh is a very bright human being. Josh and I actually have a business together, and I recognized immediately the gift that Josh possesses in his data analytics and how he views business development. He graduated from Stanford University, and he had a lot of pressure on him to do something big. And I tell you what, his story is going to blow you away because it's not what you expect, okay? He has been a part of Purpose-Built Investments, which they actually started a fund, and he just learned along the way with his dad, Mr. Dave Stech, which is another person that I know very well and have a lot of respect for that guy. So you're going to learn quite a bit today about lending home and how you can submit some deals to them. I'll let Josh tell you the whole story. Don't forget, if you haven't, text 38470, that's 38470, the word profit, you can get your free quick start guide, your down and dirty ultimate real estate investing quick start guide. My gift to you. Go ahead and make sure you download it and tell me what you think. We've got a lot of reviews on that guide. Make sure you tune in and take some notes on today's interview. This guy's really sharp, someone I have a lot of respect for. I give you Mr. Josh Stech. All right, Mr. Josh Stech, what's going on?
Nothing much, Cory. How you doing?
I'm doing well, dude. I'm doing well. You know, you are in San Francisco right now, right? That's where you're calling in from?
Financial District, downtown San Fran.
Financial District. How's it like there?
Good, man. Good. Just actually just moved spaces. We were in Union Square, a couple blocks away.
Right.
But we good news is we outgrew that space, so that tells you something. We're actually at 170 employees now.
Incredible.
And we needed more space, so we moved into One California, which is the old Union Bank building, and we have 2 floors, and we're growing, man. We're doing our best.
You know, you and I know each other for quite a long time. Your dad, Dave, also someone that I respect a lot, known him for quite a long time, and you are one of the principals in Lending Home. And why don't you talk about what that is, a little bit who you are, and what really specific area of real estate that is your expertise that you focus on?
Sure. Like a lot of people hopefully listening to this, I started off as a fix and flipper. It was after college and it was a bad time in the economy, and figured, you know what, I don't have a whole lot to lose, and quite a bit to gain, given where the market was. So I just raised a small fund and started buying from auction, fixing and flipping, and always wanted more, but didn't know exactly where to take that. And after doing a couple hundred flips, I decided that raising money was more my competency, not managing construction projects. And so I just said, how can I raise more money and not actually increase the number of projects that I'm doing at any one time? And the answer for me was lending. Mm-hmm. So I moved my fund, which was buy and flip at the time, into a private lending fund, and really just doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on that strategy, and ended up making over 1,200 loans in the next 3.5 years to people just like those listening right now. And then where Lending Home came to be was, it was really kind of a birth between I went to school in Silicon Valley area, and technology was always a passion of mine. A lot of friends of mine had chosen that career path. Mm-hmm. And I was getting more and more interested in that space, and said, there's got to be some sort of union between tech and real estate that can make everybody's lives easier, that can make borrowing costs cheaper, and that can make it more efficient for a lender to get their capital out in the market and to keep it in the market. So, that was where Lending Home was born. And very fortunate to be one of the founding partners at the company. It was about 20 months ago that we started. So we haven't been around for too long, but really what we're doing is online lending. And unlike the kind of crowdfunding peer-to-peer lending that you may be hearing buzzwords about, that's not at all what we are. We are literally just an extremely efficient tech platform for whole loan, making whole loans. We do not fractionalize equity. We don't have small, $100 lenders behind us. We have multi-billion-dollar institutions that are buying whole loans from us after we've originated them. So, a little different than most lenders in that way, but we've driven costs down significantly. And we have two products right now. We have a short-term 12-month or less bridge loan, and then we have a long 30-year rental loan program for investors.
That's great. Okay. Yeah. So how did you get involved with real estate? You said you got started out as flipping, but what kind of you're a pretty young guy. How old are you, Josh?
29.
29 years old. Pretty young.
Yep.
Gunning a lot of success right now. Did you and your dad get involved with real estate right out of college? And by the way, where did you go to college again?
I did. I was just fortunate to have a family that was really focused on education. Otherwise, I would have probably not gone to school. So I was pushed really hard and ended up somehow getting into Stanford undergrad, and then
I was trying to tee you up there, man, for your college.
Did well enough to get into their master's program. So did my master's work at Stanford as well. But real estate was. It's a funny story. I don't really think about it very often, but the way I got involved in real estate was during high school. I was in San Diego, and this was early 2000s. As I mentioned, I'm 29, so this isn't a surprise. It was kind of the time for anybody and everybody to get a loan, right? It was a low doc stated income. Anybody could really get a loan that could
fog up a mirror. You can get a loan.
You got it. And I've always been really opportunistic. And at the time I spoke fluent Spanish, which was kind of a really unique thing for somebody that was sort of, in my situation. So sure. I ended up capitalizing on that by actually joining a friend who was in a call center for subprime loans. And I was kind of like, kind of the Spanish go-to guy, and did really well in that niche, and then grew into becoming a loan officer in high school. And was just making a good amount of money, did that through college, actually helped kind of pay the way through college. And so I was a loan officer from pretty young, and then actually did, kind of tied it all together when I did my thesis on the subprime lending crisis that I had kind of contributed to in a small way, and kind of reflected on that. And so there's got to be a better way to do it. And I think all of that kind of led into, starting purpose-built investments, and then ultimately Lending Home.
Gotcha. And, this is, I know for you, I usually ask about if there like a breaking point whenever you said like enough's enough and I want to get involved with real estate. Some of the people that we've interviewed on here, they didn't really have that moment. And I wouldn't suspect based on some of your story, you didn't really have a enough's enough breaking point moment, did you?
I don't think I wouldn't say I did. I would say that, the reason that post college I decided to get back into real estate was, the economy was in a bad spot, and I'd done my internships throughout college had been, mostly with consultancies, and between investment banking and then consultancies, which were really the kind of most likely options for me post grad school. Right. They were both in a tough spot in 2009. I mean, they were kind of hiring. It was very difficult to get hired, and it was also just very uncertain. You may be hired for a month or two or three or four, and usually it required that you move across the country to take the job. And I didn't see myself moving across the country for something that had a very unpredictable time horizon. And so I wouldn't say that there was a breaking point. I think that it was almost kind of, I was fortuitous that the economy was as bad as it was, because it made me reflect on my options and say, I think I could do better than working for a corporation.
Who was a big influence for you for investing? I know your dad was one of them. Anybody else?
No, that was it. That was the old man was it as it relates to kind of mentors and influencers. I'd say, especially to get into to get into the business. I'd say to kind of take it to the next level, I've certainly acquired a number of mentors along the way, and it's a strategy that I would implore everybody to take advantage of. Asking for help is a very noble thing, and it a lot of people want to give it, and it's fulfilling to people that are actually able to give it. So I was never bashful to ask for advice, to ask for help, and just do it in the right way. My example would be with one of the largest land developers in Las Vegas. I completely went out of my way to introduce myself to him and came prepared, came with an agenda to the meeting, told him why I thought I could learn a lot from him, and we created a monthly cadence out of those meetings. And it was because I was prepared. It's because I went out of my way. So my dad, number one, first and foremost, and still to this day is first and foremost my mentor. But some other guys that, again, it wasn't because they offered. I promise nobody's going to offer to be your mentor. You got to go get it. So
that's great advice, man. I think sometimes we do wait for someone to come to us, and you just got to go find it. Somebody that you want to learn from. Go and ask them. Don't be bashful. And actually, a lot of times they want to teach you too, if you do it in the right way and not like in a douchey manner. And you also give first, right? I know that you're also big on, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? And I think that's a fantastic approach too. What's a big real estate mistake that you've went through, and how did you get through it? Don't say it's one of the businesses that you and I are in together.
Yeah.
Don't say the Florida business.
Mention that. No, I'm just kidding. No, those are quite successful. I think probably. I can think of a project in particular, but more of like a general strategy mistake.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I think probably, test. I was always very good at it, but I got overly excited about one strategy in particular and kind of let myself get ahead. And that was, I think testing things to the extent that you can with your own money or with your own resources before you bring other people into the transaction and put them and their savings at risk is a really important. It's just a good business practice. Now, it's not the way to get started the quickest. If you only have $100,000 and you want to get into flipping, maybe you can only do one property at a time. I get it, but de-risking the investment, so to speak, with your own capital and your own resource and putting that out there not only gives you credibility when you go to raise money, but it just makes you feel better. You have the confidence going into it, saying, you know what, I put my own ass on the line. And maybe I only, maybe somebody took a bite out of it, but bottom line, I still have it. So,
right.
You really. You don't underestimate, I guess, is the point, how much learning there is to be had in the first or second transaction, and get those out of the way without putting anybody else at risk. So.
That's good. One of the reasons that we created the podcast from Real Estate Investing Profits, our podcast and the Profit Masters series, is we have so many rock star investors. You and I both know so many of them, and they have great strategies and incredible investing strategies. I know that you're on another side of it, really focusing more now on the lending side and really running a business. Do you have some type of, if it's not necessarily one of your profit strategies, but something that you and I actually were talking about before this interview, about something you're working with brokers right now that's really you've seen the profits just grow extremely just from that little strategic move. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. There are a lot of things that the firm is doing, but one in particular that I would credit with sort of being the catalyst of most of our recent growth is our expansion into the broker channel. And what I mean by broker channel is mortgage brokers, hard money or conventional, that are in all of the 20 markets that we're in right now, 20 states, that have existing books of business and that need a better way of doing business, both a better product, but also a better process. And we think we offer both. And so up until about 7 months or so, we were sourcing all of our loans through what we call the direct channel, meaning we had people in the office that were one way or another hustling to get a hold directly of investors like those listening now to offer our programs. And what we found was it was an interesting strategy, and certainly one that we're still using and scaling. But it's not that turning people on the ground with entrenched relationships into your foot soldiers is something that I could have never predicted the kind of growth that it would lead to. So within 6 months or so, we're now, that channel alone is now 50% of the company's business. So we expect, and it's really a third as old as the main competing strategy, which is the direct business I mentioned. So to have grown that quickly with almost less than half of the human resources to do it in internal employees, it's really been phenomenal. So, and one of the nice things about the broker strategy for those that are listening is it doesn't require being licensed in every state necessarily. So California, Arizona, Nevada, there are a handful that do require mortgage broker licensing. But the nice thing about investor loans, business purpose or commercial loans, is that not every state requires broker licensing to do that. Tennessee doesn't, Florida for entity borrowers doesn't, North Carolina, I believe, does not, although I can send out the list to anybody that's interested. But there are a bunch of, Texas does not, Georgia does not. And what it ends up happening is if you have a network and you generally know what loans are and how they're structured, you can actually sign up, become a lending home broker, and start monetizing your network by bringing loans that your friends and family have to lending homes. So the broker channel is big and everybody can participate.
That's interesting. So the word broker, I think, throws people off, right? They feel like they have to have a license and things like that. But you're actually talking about like just really a middleman, right? You're just talking about even if you don't have a quote broker's license, even though it's a broker strategy, you can still invite your people over to work with your company. And do you have some type of affiliate agreement or something worked out with them on that?
Yeah, it's a broker agreement, and it really is. They play the role that a typical broker would, with the exception of in some states, as I mentioned, having licensing isn't a requirement. Right. And they play the role, meaning it's more than an introduction. It is truly you understand our loan programs, which are quite simple, but you get to understand them. And then let's say, Cory, I was your broker and you had a good deal. I would say, hey, Cory, here is a list, and Lending Home gives me as the broker this list. Here's a list of all the required documents and data that we need on your deal and you as a borrower. Right. Boom, you give it back to me as the broker. And I'd then log into my Lending Home broker portal, and I would then upload on your behalf all of that information. And then as the Lending Home processing team started looking and reviewing the information over, they would then potentially kick back any issues or further, anything that they needed to me as the broker. I'd then tell you, you'd tell me, I'd tell Lending Home, and we get it done. So really the reason that that's important for guys like in Cory, in that instance, you, who's the investor, is that your core competency and your core function is not getting financing for your deals. It's You're spending 95% of your time finding, renovating, and then selling your deals at a profit. It's not getting financing.
Right, so. Right. And another thing that's interesting is Lending Home certification program, right? Like whenever you're talking about that, I think about almost pride of ownership, right? So if I'm doing that, to be able to tie my name to, if I'm some other person that you're trying to recruit as a broker, it would be really interesting if you had, and you may already have it, but it'd be interesting to have a Lending Home certification course. And you and I actually probably follow a digital marketer. You're seeing Dice and Frazier and Perry Belcher. Those guys are online doing these certification programs right now. Well, there's a reason that they're using that badge and whatnot. It's because now it's just marketing for free, basically, for them all over the place. And then there's pride of ownership in terms of that person feeling like they're a part of the big multi-billion-dollar Lending Home program, and they get excited about it. So just an idea as you're talking about that could be something that'd be pretty powerful if you don't already have it in place.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we don't. We should. I'd love to take that offline. I think it's a great idea. It's operationally just got to work out the kinks and put it into place. But that is, the concept is there, but the actual mechanism certification is not. So.
Yeah, it would I could see just having an understanding of the process, a simple test. It could be 100 questions, but still you have a certification, and now at least you have something that they understand how your process works. That it's just an idea. When you're saying that, I think immediately there'd be some sense of pride of ownership. Yeah,
I agree.
Cool. Okay, so if you had to start over again, Josh, how would you do it? What would you change if you had to start something over, like for newbies?
If I had to start over again, let's see here. Well, damn, that is a tough question. I mean, if I had to start over again, I'm just trying to reflect on how I started. I mean, so when I started, I literally moved to Vegas, which is the market that we decided to start buying and flipping in. And I lived, I literally moved out there with nowhere to stay other than the then current property that we were flipping. So, I started off pretty raw, sleeping on air mattresses and packing up in the morning so that realtors could show the property. Wow. And I don't think I would change that. I think not just because the story is fun to tell and I'm sure endearing, I wouldn't change that because when you do become successful, which if you follow guys like Cory, if you follow guys like yourself, you will become successful. It's just a matter of time and a matter of willpower. It's fun to reflect on those. It's fun to reflect on the times when, it was tough and you really had to put your mind to getting yourself in a better spot. So I would not trade that. What I may trade was probably just getting into lend. For me personally, it may have been getting into lending a little bit quicker. Again, just trying to think. This is off the cuff, but I flipped for about a year and a half, maybe a little bit more, and I probably could have gotten all the value that I needed. Which, as a lender, you need to have transaction experience. Otherwise, you can't call BS. You can't. Sure. You can't put yourself in your shoes. But I think I could have probably cut that a little bit shorter, realizing quicker maybe that my competency was raising money. It wasn't identifying properties and managing construction. I wasn't great at that. And so, identifying what I was passionate about and good at earlier may have been good. But the good news, I don't think I would change a whole lot. I kind of like the story.
So. I like that. Yeah, no, it's good. What's one piece of advice that you'd share about running a successful real estate business now?
Yeah, so I think top of mind for me is we're growing really fast in headcount, and I think this month we'll probably have added 25 folks, there's a lot of challenge with that. Culture gets out of hand pretty.
Moving parts.
What's that?
A lot of moving parts, Josh.
Oh my goodness, ton of moving parts, and just a ton of personality and a ton of subcultures that end up kind of creating themselves, and so, a piece of advice, at least, as I think about scaling a company and adding a lot of bodies, is just number one, being very clear on the type of person that you're looking for in a given role, and being very, very, very specific, and then tailoring an interview process that actually tests for those things. Because hiring is expensive, but firing is extremely expensive, especially in the state of California. So getting the right people quickly, having a playbook for them to follow before they join is really important. And then overall, just from a managing of people perspective, because it's just top of mind for me right now, I have so many folks that I have to care for every day, is really just actually making a real connection personally with them, helps you understand how to motivate them.
I like that. What is one of your favorite motivational or business quotes? It's kind of, so my favorite quote, and I'm trying to tie it back to motivation or business. It motivates me, so I guess that's enough. Is respect everyone, fear no one. I like that.
I've lived by that, which is I never underestimate anybody walking into the room, how they're dressed, how they look, what their resume said. You may be surprised by anybody, but also just never being scared to go belly to belly with somebody that has an impressive resume or somebody that has an impressive background. It doesn't mean that they're smarter than you. It means that they may have worked slightly harder. They may have been lucky. They may have had a mentor that you didn't have. So don't I just never get scared of somebody, whether we're meeting with the CEO of a really big bank or one of the Treasury Department heads, going into those with the same level head that you go into a meeting with your parents or your friends, just keep it consistent, keep it cool, calm, and just don't be scared. That's the thing.
It's funny. I never said this. Actually, I can even think of why you saying that. I met Mickey Mantle, signed a baseball card. And what was interesting about it, he was drunk. And it was a moment for me because I had these cards and I was going to get them signed. And no one was saying anything. Everyone was just he was just signing it, and everyone was kind of intimidated, and I was young. And I asked him, I said, "Why are you drunk?" And I just remember that moment that he goes,
dang, that's heavy, huh?
I like alcohol, and I drink every once in a while." And I was like, I went here, I traveled here to get this card signed, and all these other people did too, and you showed up drunk. And so it was interesting, the conversation, but believe it or not, he actually looked at me and said, I never had anybody call me out on being drunk before, and I was young. And just a testament to what you're saying is
awesome.
I never actually said that to anybody. That's crazy that you're talking about that. Made me think about it. I respected everyone, like you're saying, but I did not fear anyone. If the president of the United States was in the room, I would respect him, but I wouldn't be afraid to walk up to him and shake his hand. He's human. He's not going to set me on fire. He's not going to, make me, he's a human person. And so I think sometimes we let intimidation rule our decisions. And a lot of times the intimidation comes from fear, and fear is coming from irrationality fears that they don't even exist. But interesting story. My drunk Mickey Mantle story.
I'm glad that brought back the Mickey Mantle memory. That was a fun one.
That's crazy. What books do you recommend, and what's one that's really changed your life?
Reading, man. Critical. Unbelievably powerful, really hard to find time for. But I just say, by my general philosophy on reading is 10, 15 pages a day will get you will take you a long way. Don't try to swallow the elephant.
You got it. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Recent book, Peter Thiel had a book, 0 to 1. I believe it was Peter. Yeah. Amazing book on just true innovation and not just incremental innovation. And actually fundamentally shifting industries, fundamentally shifting human habits. It was a powerful book. I mean, it talked about kind of how he came up and the amazing things he did with PayPal and all that. So I think there's a lot, especially I think the easy example is Uber. Everybody's Uber this, Uber that right now. Create on demand this, on demand that. Right. Absolutely huge, amazing necessity. But a Me Too product can very seldomly actually fundamentally make a shift in human habit or the market. So going 0 to 1, fundamentally shifting an industry is something that I'm interested in doing. We're trying to do it with mortgage and the way people approach it. So that book I would recommend for sure.
I'd also recommend another book to you since you said that, 0 to 1 Million by Ryan Alice. And,
no way.
Yeah, and he actually was the guy that created it was the email company that he was responsible for. I cannot think of it right now. iContact. And he sold that company for, I don't remember how many hundreds of millions. It was a lot of money. And he talks about his story from building a company up to $1 million in sales and just all the different kind of things that go along that way. But he also loves that book, 0 to 1 too. So anyway, you should check out that book. Another thing, it's good. Another one that I like to ask about is mobile apps, right? So you're in a technology space. What's one mobile app that you use every day in your business?
In our business,
something that you're constantly referencing every day and it's helpful to you. Maybe if it's Asana or Trello or I don't know, something.
Yeah.
Viber.
Sure. No, I mean, there's a ton. I like, let me think here. I mean, phenomenal for payments. So Venmo is just an easy way to pay friends for things. I love that one because it's just a pain to split a bill and do all that. And so that's good. Venmo.
Venmo. Yeah.
Venmo. Yeah. I'd say a new one called Telegram, which is, it's kind of like WhatsApp. It's just kind of a free texting service, and it's an amazing group functionality. But more importantly, it's extremely encrypted and tight security. So a lot of what would go on a private text string with a group or individuals is actually fairly encrypted and harder for databases to pick up. So Telegram is good. And then Expensify is an awesome app.
That is cool.
Yeah, I mean, just to track your expenses and in the case of employees to submit expense reports. So.
That's cool. Yeah, another one for encryption and CyberDust. That's a Cuban's app. If you ever heard of the CyberDust,
No, I never have.
So basically the concept is sending a text message. Whenever you send it, you let go of all control and it's out there. So with cyber dust, you send it and it automatically goes away. It's not on any servers, nothing. It just automatically dissolves. And so it's pretty cool app that he has a lot of. He always talks about. So you might check that one out too. What's a great lesson that you've learned that's helped you along to get where you are today?
Great lesson. Yeah.
Like a great business lesson that's really like, once you learn that, it really helped you push to where you are today.
It may not come out the right way, but it's kind of a mix between two things, I think, which is really just like, you're more likely to be great at something you love than good at something you don't. And I know it's fairly common, but it's real. And I would almost like kind of mix that in with just generally having faith. So I know those are two very fuzzy things, but I'll just kind of try to bring them down to earth. Like, I would have just, I think I was very passionate about real estate. So I went after real estate. I was honest with myself and like, I didn't necessarily know where it was going to go, but I knew I loved it. And I knew that if I loved it, I thought I'd be good at it, but I just didn't know that it was going to necessarily be this huge career. And frankly, there's a lot of pressure, sort of having again, been very lucky to get into a school like Stanford. They're coming out of it. There's just a lot of pressure from friends and family to like do something really big.
Right.
And I think for that reason, a lot of people make bad decisions. And mine was more of just like a from the heart decision. And I mean, if I would have done like, the chances that hard money lending would have turned into, a company with 170 people that's hopefully going to change the face of mortgage, not only from investor lending, but to all the way down to owner-occ, which is what we're really trying to do, is just phenomenal. And it's just because I followed what made me happy. And then also I was very aware of my surroundings. I mean, I was aware of what was happening. And I said, oh, there's probably a better way to do this. Technology seems interesting, reaching out to the right people. So I think the business lesson is just, having faith that what you want and that if you follow it, you may not get the immediate result, but I promise you that if you don't follow it blindly, but you follow it eyes wide open and being very aware, you're going to stumble on, you're going to stumble on success for sure. So
that's good, man. What's your morning routine? Do you have one?
I do have a morning routine. Yeah. I mean, I would say, if I said I did it every morning, I'd be blowing smoke, but I'd say, a good 4 or 5 days a week, I'll probably execute on it. My morning routine is, wake up, pretty early, get to the gym, by 6 or so, do a workout for 45, 50 minutes and then hit the steam room. Steam room's really kind of fun place to clear your head, frankly.
Same thing, man.
Yeah. Hit the steam room, just sweat it out. Hit the shower, and then I take my dogs for a walk. I have a shake in the morning because I don't believe in a heavy breakfast. It just weighs me down, and then I'm into the office pretty early. So
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another question that's I think a little bit that we think of last, but what are you grateful for right now?
Guys like you, friends like you. Seriously, friends, actually, this is going to be worth it. I'm going to pull up a quote that a friend just sent me about friends. Give me 1 second because it was really moving. It was a friend's birthday. Oh, here you go. Yeah. So apparently it was Emerson who said the friend was a masterpiece of nature. So seriously, just grateful for all my good friends, grateful for the friends that I was fortunate enough to come together and start this company with. And just all the lessons that they teach you and the fact that they actually take time to listen to you, even though it's not necessarily to their direct financial gain, like everybody. It's just friends are freaking amazing. So I'm very, very fortunate for that. And I keep my circle very close. So
I appreciate being in your circle. And
right.
I think that you're someone that I also have a lot of respect for and excited to see seeing from when you're in Vegas and everything you're doing right now and just your journey. It's it's really inspiring to see. And man, I think you're doing some incredible things. If you had to summarize, actually, you know what? I'm going to ask another question. At what point would you recommend hiring a coach or a mentor, and how important do you think that's been to your success?
It's been fundamental to my success. I mean, absolutely fundamental. I was lucky to have my dad, who didn't cost me anything.
Right.
If he would have, it would have been, I'd be still making that debt up because he taught me some unbelievable stuff. But I mean, so let my dad aside. I think the first mentor I actively sought out was probably in Vegas. So it was about a year into my career, and I realized that like there was just so much I didn't know about real estate. There's just so much, and then like buying and flipping is it's an amazing niche, a very profitable niche, insanely profitable. But there's just I sit there and look at all the high rises on the strip, and I look at all the casinos and like how those are run. You just know that there's a lot, and so I want to start dipping my toe into that and understanding that. And so I sought out Lance, who was one of my first mentors. So I don't think it's ever too early to get a coach, ever. I think it takes a level of maturity to actually get the value out of a coach. I think that they're going to tell you a lot of hard things. They're going to go 2 or 3 levels deeper than anybody would as it relates to like, questions and actually getting at the heart of things that are bothering you. So it takes a level of maturity. So if you're at the maturity level, I'd say like yesterday, hire them now, or hire or pay or solicit or just get them for free, whatever you can do. But never too early if you're open-minded and feel like you're ready for coaching.
That's great. Yeah. So this is the big question. Why do you do what you do? Why is it? Why are you at Lending Home? Why are you in this real estate? Why are you doing what you do?
So that's always been, I think it's morphed a little bit. I think now I've hit steady state on my why, and I don't know that it's ever going to change. Before it was a lot of selfish things. And I think to a certain extent, this is still a little selfish, but I think it's really fundamental, which is just, my future family. I mean, really, like the reason that I do everything right now is I recently got engaged, and my fiance is an amazing woman, and I know we'll have amazing kids, and like my immediate family with my parents and my brother. It's just being like the thought of being able to support somebody if they ever should need it, and being able to, like give them opportunities that truly are driven by finance, like just being able to open up somebody's world, not because they need it, but because like I've worked hard and I can give that to them and hopefully accelerate something in their life, is just it feels super empowering and super just like, just fulfilling to me. So I think my why is really just like, I work super hard every day so that frankly, if those around me don't want to, they don't have to. I want them to do what they love. But if shit hit the fan for anybody, frankly, like just being frank, being able to support them is like just unbelievably fulfilling to me. So
being a provider. So you have a lot of why, and Simon Sinek talks about Start With Why, right? His book. And I think it's something that as entrepreneurs, we put at the last instead of the first. And I think there's 2 reasons why. There's a book from Gino Wickman called Rocket Fuel, and there's 2 people that you need in your business, either a visionary or it's either an implementer or an integrator. So it's either a visionary or an integrator. And if you had to choose one, which one are you more like? And there's some tests of some questions to ask which one you more like. And the visionary can be, awesome at just thinking about the why, and not so great at thinking about the how. The implementer or he can be thinking about the how and not necessarily the why. And so to make the business work really great, you have to have 2 people, because then it's almost like having peanut butter without jelly in your sandwich, right? It's just incomplete. And I think that some entrepreneurs obviously are visionaries, right? But some of them aren't, right? And so oftentimes we just look at that why as the last thing, because it's just not that important. We just want to go and have results and get there, right? But totally. The why really is the most important thing, right? Because you can get there. I was just having an interview with Brian Elwood out in Tennessee. He's just talking about now that they're doing over 100 homes, he doesn't really feel anything different than when he was doing like 10 homes, right? Because the money isn't necessarily the why, right? It's now he's trying to really figure out what's the big why of what we're doing, what we do. And yeah, I just think that's it's one of those things we tend to ask last. So it's cool to hear you. It seems like you've kind of thought it through a little bit on your family and your future family, which is really cool to see that, man. So I used to think that was just kind of like a cop out, right? Like, oh, it's the people I love. But I mean, I don't know. I just couldn't have fathomed another why. That truly is the most important thing to me. So yeah, I mean, and just, yeah. And I think from a business perspective, like doing something that changes people's lives, hoping that Lending Home's kind of slogan is best way to get a mortgage. And when we roll that out to consumers that, are being boxed out by big banks right now and not able to actually realize the dream of home ownership, that is another big why. But I think it does all kind of come to this helping people, realize their dreams and be happy. So yeah, another idea too is your why has rhythms, right? Whenever you're, in 20 years old, your why is going to be different when you're 30. When you're 30, you're going to be different. When you're 40, it's going to be different than, then. So it has a rhythm to it. So that's another way to look at it too.
Yep.
Hey, Josh, what's the best way that my audience can serve you, and how's the best way that we can get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch would be just, a couple ways. Going to lendinghome.com. Certainly you can sign up and see what we're all about. It takes, a couple seconds. If you want to sign up as a broker, it's lendinghome.com/broker. If you wanted to get a hold of me personally, just josh@lendinghome.com. And certainly happy to go back and forth. But the biggest way to help, I think, is really just, right now it's all about loan volume for us. We're bringing on a lot of heads and a lot of overhead to make this thing go. And it doesn't go if there's not transactions to close every day. So, self-serving as it may be, that truly is, if there was one ask, it's just, hey, whether it's a short-term bridge loan or a long-term rental loan, give Lending Home a shot. I promise you that you have nothing to lose. It's super easy. We're real nice people. We'll do it for you if we can.
That's great, man. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time. I know you're crazy busy. I know you have a ton of people and a responsibility. So to get on here to do this interview, I feel blessed to be a part of the circle. And dude, I'm just cheering you on. So keep on rocking it, man.
Likewise. Well, thanks for doing these kind of things. It benefits so many people in so many ways. So I'm glad to be a part of it. Be a part of it anytime you need me.
Awesome, man. Well, remember to be on the next podcast, and we're going to bring people on just like Josh that are rock stars at what they do. And thank you again for taking your time to be on Real Estate Investing Profit Masters series podcast. Remember, be a servant, and I'll talk to you on the next podcast. Bye now.
You've been listening to another Real Estate Investing Profits Master podcast series. To receive your free real estate book, Down and Dirty, Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide, how to quit your job to start flipping houses in 90 days or less, head online and go to realestateinvestingprofits.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Estate Investing Profits. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode.